This is the preface for Doublehead, the celebrated running horse. This is the part of the book that I generally do not read until the end of the book for some reason. This tells you why this book, this YouTube video is being done. Essentially, it's genealogy, which everybody just left the room. This is the preface for Doublehead, the celebrated running horse. This is a portion of the book that I almost always skip. I may read it after I finish the book, which informs I may be talking about something to nobody. This is the why did you do that? Essentially, it's genealogy. And there you went. You're gone. What, 30 years maybe of research by me, my mother, cousins, anybody else, friends. You get all this information and what can you do with it? It's interesting information. It's hard to tell your family members and they look at you like you're weird because you're talking about dates and dead people and you remember their birthdays, but you can't remember your wife's. It's kind of like a weird, let's find Waldo, the Waldo thing. Have you ever noticed you look for Waldo everywhere, but you see Waldo, but you also see the stuff around him. And that's kind of genealogy. You're looking for that great-great-grandfather. You want to find him, but what you end up doing is you discover things all around him. And that is one hell of a story. So this is not my way of getting back at people by putting up the bad stuff I found, because I'm not into that. It's just history, and every family's got that thing. Not that bad. I mean, it's not genetic. This is a spiritual condition. So, well, it may be genetic, but yeah. I have all kinds of family, my dad's family, my mom's family, but there's one side of the family, which was my mom's, that I got to know. We'd go down there to Panther Creek, Waterloo, Alabama, for family reunions, and I was like 6. And Daddy would tell me the story about Davy Crockett. If you're driving down that road, down towards Pea Ridge, and he's telling you about Crockett, and you look at the creeks and everything, your mind does, you get into it. Essentially, it's these people and the others that got married into to make my mother's grandparents, which is going to were Parker, Parnell, Condrey, Hooten. All 4 of those came from 4 different ways of getting down to Waterloo, Alabama. The Parker side, they've actually been there and still are for the last 200 years. The Condrey side, they got there a little later, like 1870. But those stories are so completely different, and they show 4 different ways of being the Southeast. From the Indians to the pioneers, the Civil War, you got a loyalist, you got a rebel. It's a great way to tell the story of the South. So that's what brought me to do this. Of course, the genealogy was extensive, and its names and its dates and marriage license and census records. Don't hit the button. Not doing that. Okay. It's the newspapers that I started finding. They go online and you just start kind of searching. You put in some names and you just kind of start tracking, and all of a sudden it's one big path, and I wanted to share that. And I've always wanted to do something like this. I went to Mississippi State for a semester in history, and that worked out well. So now I'm a landscape guy, I'm older, and I need to leave something for my grandchildren because I didn't leave them much of this. So that's why we did this. P.S. The first chapter is longer than I thought it would be. I think it's a little over an hour and a half. Well, it's a long book, and the first chapter is pretty important. So I had to build a foundation. Sometimes it looks like I'm telling the same story over again, but I'm OCD, so just read it or go to the end and maybe it'll make sense in the last 30 minutes.